Okay. Good morning. Can I ask you to sit, please? Oh, people are quiet. That's great. Well, good morning, everyone. Very much welcome. Actually, not in Istanbul, but actually in Athens. And thank you so much to support the conference and to accommodate the slight changes we had to make along the way. My name is Seb Osselin. I'm the general chair of this conference. And I'm very delighted to host you in this great location nearby the Acropolis. And I hope that you had an opportunity to actually go and look at the Acropolis. If you haven't done so, please take the opportunity, not during the sessions, either and at night time. Actually, the lights are amazing. Or perhaps in the weekend if you have the opportunity to stay a bit longer. I would like first to first introduce and thank all the different people who've been involved into the development of this conference, and I would like them to ask to come to the podium so you can have an opportunity to put a face on a name. We'd like to thank our general co-chair, Atul, who has been extremely supportive. Unfortunately, couldn't join us in Athens today. Our program chair, Sandy Wells, our co-chairs, Mert Sabunku, Leo, and Gosde, our local chair, Bouleng Sankour, satellite event chair, Burak, satellite event co-chair, Devrim, Evren, and Tom, our industry liaison from IBM, Tanvir, and our publication chairs, Andreas, who's been absolutely fantastic. And I would like as well to take the opportunity to thank all the different universities who've been supporting us. Even with the move of the conference, we still had great support from all of our university from Turkey, and we are grateful for their support. And as well would like to give my thanks to Decon, who has been absolutely brilliant on helping us to actually move very smoothly the conference from their home country to Greece. Okay, so I just heard this morning that we are nearly at 800 attendees. We're still having 5 missing, so please call your friends, ask them to take a plane and to come, then I can write 800 registration by the end of the week. The numbers are slightly lower than expected. It's not surprising given the circumstances, but I believe this is still quite a strong attendance. We are very pleased to actually see the amount of attendees for the workshops. There is clearly a need for those workshops. We've been able to host quite a huge amount of those, and I hope that you've been enjoying them yesterday, and you will have an opportunity to have another set of high-quality workshop on Friday. And obviously, you will not be surprised, I guess, to hear that machine learning and deep learning has been very popular with over 130 registrations on both of those workshops. Our MICCAI membership is growing. And we would like to see more and more people actually registering as well to the society. We will send you a survey monkey at the end of the conference, first to ask you your feeling, if you liked it or not, scientifically, socially, and from the perspective of the organization, if there is anything we can improve for the year coming. But as well asking you why you decided to pay more to come here by not registering to the conference, to the MICCAI Society, which is something that, as part of the board, we always try to understand, and it would be great to have your insight. I'm sure there is some technical, perhaps, issue, and it would be great if every member of the MICCAI conference was indeed as well part of the society. I would like to first start to as well highlight, I think, a great initiative led by Ralph Onzaros. Ralph is just there. If you don't mind to stand up for 2 minutes, everyone can see you. Ralph. So Ralph actually approached us. He's a very well-known figure now from the computer vision area. He was recently at CVPR when he organized this CVPR daily magazine. He kindly offered to come to join us. and to organize this MICCAI daily magazine. And that's the first time we've been doing this, and I hope that you've been able to start to read it. It's quite a lengthy magazine already, and Ralph decided to convert hours of sleep in hours of writing. And basically, been working pretty much overnight to deliver this magazine. A few of you have been already interviewed, and please be kind enough to accept if Ralph is asking you to be interviewed. It's a great opportunity to actually highlight your work and get some insight about the attendees. Thank you, Ralph. So I would like first now to go through a few slides which will be full of numbers, which are mainly about the program committee report. We had a few comments in the past of members of the community who've been mentioning that the process of the review process of MICCAI is complex and obscure. So we would like to try to present it in the more clear way we can. If people have any insight and comment, I'm sure that the organizer of next year will be delighted to hear them. This year the program was organized by Sandy Wells, Mert, Sabunku, Leo Joskovic, and Gosde Unal. We receive quite a reasonable amount of papers. Actually, we receive 756. Which is the papers after the validation process. So we received more papers, but some of them were over length or were not following the right format. And that's the amount of paper which were considered as valid. We recruited 55 program committee members. We made a very clear choice of balancing between the MIC community and the CAI community. Over a third were from the CAI community. We ensure as well we had a proper balance of gender, we had a proper balance of seniority, and we had a proper balance as well of the size of the different research labs that these people were coming from. It's still a challenge to have a proper balance of gender, I must admit, and we are looking forward to actually have more senior women in our field, and we are actively working to raise this, to make people aware, and to support everyone to actually reach the ladder in the academic world. The phase 2 of the process, after we got this paper submitted, was to go through an early acceptance or early rejection. And it was mainly based on the scores that we received from the reviewers. So if we had basically a consistent agreement of reviewers wanted to accept a paper or wanted to reject a paper, we felt it was much better to make this decision now. And that led to 82 papers accepted early and 189 rejected early. We then went to a phase 3, which was with a leftover of 485 papers, of which after rebuttal, we were able to have a consensus for 51 papers to accept and 147 papers to reject. This led to 288 papers for discussion at a PC meeting, which was initially meant to be organized in Turkey and which we had to relocate in London. And I would like again to be actually very grateful for all of our PC members who kindly changed their plan pretty much at the last minute to join us in London. We had quite a few members of the PC meeting coming. We had 28 of them. We decided as well to organize a workshop which was open to all of the local community of MICCAI. It was very well attended, and I would like to emphasize that those PC meetings are not only an activity to review the papers and identify the last key papers we want to have in our program, but as well to build a community and give an opportunity for some of our members of the community to present their work as well. We divided those PC members in groups. We made sure that we had a representation of the CAI community as well within all of these groups. And through the following process, which was splitting the papers in batches and going through an acceptance process of 1 or 2 papers per batch, we reached an outcome of 95 papers accepted and 193 rejected, which led to a total of 228 papers accepted to this conference this year with an acceptance rate of 30%, or 30.1 if you want to be precise. So then after that, we went to a day when we identified the orals paper. The paper was still all double-blind at this stage. We look at all of these papers by group, and we managed to identify 45 orals, which is more obviously than what we need. And then it was up to the program committee to select what will be the final set of papers to be presented as a podium, which led to 22 CHI paper, 12 CHI paper and 26 MICCAI paper, which were then split into sessions. And I would like to give the opportunity for Sandy Wells, our program chair, to go through some of the algorithmics he's been through and text mining to actually be able to identify the groups of the keywords associated with the papers that we selected this year.
Thank you. So to characterize what was in the scientific program, I did some text analysis on the accepted papers. I constructed a dictionary. These are pretty standard tools in Python. I constructed a dictionary and converted the papers to TF, IDF vectors, and then did non-negative matrix factorization to identify 15 topics. And these word clouds summarize the topic. So deep learning has come to MICCAI. Sort of, you can see training, network learning, CNN, I think convolutional. Feature-based methodology is a big thing at MICCAI. Then CHI is present, certainly, in needle, tip, localization, insertion, trajectories. I think bending is in there somewhere. Yeah, bending. Brain analysis has always been a big part of MICCAI for a long time. So here's brain connectivity networks, patterns, functional stuff, networks, brain networks, I think. Registration, of course, is a wonderful topic, and there's a good presence. Motion, especially cardiac motion, this is a growing area, I think. Yeah, I think Riemannian geometry is in there somewhere. Shape representation, especially for segmentation, using priors and so forth, is popular technology. And then there is a genre of MRI analysis papers, and I think the connection between image analysis and MRI technology should be tighter. I wish there was more integration of MICCAI and ISMRM, for example. Anyway, there's certainly some of that. Cancer is a big topic. It affects many of us over time. Cortical surface analysis, it's understanding the structure of the neocortex is often best done using surface analysis. So we have that, and certainly Riemannian geometry is really present there. Vessel analysis is a big thing, and with interventional things with catheters. A really relatively new and growing area is imaging and genetics, and also cellular imaging analysis. That's a big one. Multi-atlas label fusion is an established technology at MICCAI, and continues to be. Here's more interventional ultrasound interventions, ultrasound probes, feedback tracking, guidance, clearly CHI. And this is another CHI type topic with bones and sliding, probably mesh models of bones sliding around. So then after sort of establishing the coordinate system for these papers, we did some hierarchical clustering and then manual fix-up to identify sessions, essentially, and the sessions and groupings in the, the groupings in the proceedings are here, and they're pretty similar to what's in the sessions, the poster sessions. And with that, I will hand it back to Seb. Thank you.
Okay, so I would like to finish my talk by presenting some of the highlights of this year, and we'd like obviously to start by, I think, one of the key highlights, which is a very high quality set of keynote speakers that we have this year, which will come from Camille Ugobil, Claire Tompani, and Yoav Medan from 3 different countries and 3 different research areas, and we are absolutely delighted to host them in our conference and looking forward to the talk. The welcome reception, again, someone is like to make my life difficult, and the weather is not on our side, can you believe? The only day that we've got high wind is tonight. And we had a lovely terrace with a lovely view. I went there. Unfortunately, you cannot really stand there. At the moment, the wind will give you the feeling of having a temperature of 12 to 14 degrees, which I don't think was a great idea. I didn't want to add a cold to you guys before you go home, so we felt it was much better to do it inside. So it will be relocated within the hotel at the level -1 and -2, so please join us tonight from 5:30 to 7. And then after that, hope you will have a time to enjoy the view by going to the Premiere bar, for instance, when you can see the Acropolis with all the great lights they put on, or have a walk in the old city. We have our gala dinner at the, I'm still not very good in Greek, Nasyudzik Estate. It's a lovely place, very charming. Please do not miss the bus, otherwise you will have to take a taxi. It's a 40 minutes drive from here. It's not actually that far, it's just the commute at this time of the day is going to be a bit challenging. It's a very historical place. The views are amazing, and I've been told the food as well is fantastic. So please do join. You all should have received a banquet voucher. If you are missing one or you haven't purchased one, please come to the reception and we can sort this out. I would like now to spend a few minutes just to highlight as well the great role that the MICCAI Student Board is playing within our community. This board is growing and growing, and it's been really from the bottom up. They raise the awareness of the interest of the students within the MICCAI community. They are creating a student network. They are very much active as well on the MICCAI Facebook. And they are really there to advise as well as the board to identify how we can be even more supportive of our students. They organized a great event yesterday night. It was very well attended, and I'm sure that people who were there had an opportunity to network with them greatly. And they've been very supportive of organizing social and professional student events. So we have 4 great people, Lena, Daniel, Drigu, and Matthias, who's been very much at the core of driving this board this year. And they've been helping us to organize quite a lot of events, including the Academy Industry event I mentioned yesterday night, the MICCAI jogging. So if you have missed it this morning, please come tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. at the reception, and Andrew will lead the way, and he led the way this morning. Look at that. And so they had a great run, and they came back on time, and they are all in the room, so great on them. So they've been as well organizing the soccer and basketball event, which still have available tickets for, or space for, I guess, and we already sold out for the night walking tour and the Delphi and Piscian game tour. So thank you so much for the MICCAI Student Board to support the entire community and organize those events. Thank you. Another event which has been really led by Gosde is the MICCAI Women Networking Lunch, which is happening tomorrow. And it's really a platform to discuss gender-related issues in our research field. And as well, we'll start to make another mention about the MICCAI board. We are really looking forward to have more representation of our women scientists, and please do consider to apply to those positions when they become available, open. And I would like to finally thank all of our sponsors. People always feel that this type of conference can run with a very limited budget. I can guarantee you that when you have to move a conference from one country to another, and in between you make already a loss and you start with a negative value of income because you had a contract with another venue, you're very delighted to actually have sponsors to support you. And they play even a bigger role than they ever played. And I'm absolutely grateful for their support. So I would like to ask you to thank them as well. Thank you very much. And some of them have booths outside, so please take a time during your coffee break to talk to them. And I just would like to finalize my talk to mention to our speakers that they must give us their talk in advance. The main reason we started late this morning was because we didn't have well, I will not say the numbers at all, but we had 2 talks missing out of the 4 this morning, despite clearly stating we had to have them on time. So please do visit the slide preview room at level -2 at the theta room. So then we can sort out if there is an issue with your slide or your video. And all the presentation of today and for the next 2 days are going to be recorded and will be included on our MICCAI YouTube channel unless you tell us otherwise. Yeah? So I haven't asked you to sign a document. I will just assume you're happy for us to record it. If this is an issue, please let us know, and we will make sure that we are not including it. And we will try to make sure that the video of today will be uploaded on the channel tonight. So they will be available to you for breakfast tomorrow with your MICCAI Daily Magazine, if you miss them just by any mistake. And then I would like to actually close my talk there. Thank you so much for your support, for being around. And I would like to ask now Nicolas Ayash, one of the editor-in-chief of Medical Image Analysis, to give a brief presentation of the special issues. And it will be followed by a few words from our MICCAI Society President, Vero Nissen, who will officially open the conference. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. So I am Nicolas Ayash, and I am the co-editor-in-chief of Medical Image Analysis Journal with Jim Duncan. And this year, believe it or not, but the journal is celebrating its 20th anniversary. And so we have a very special issue with free access for life. And after an editorial where we remind the creation of this journal, there is a number of visionary papers on the past, the present, the future of our discipline. And I encourage you to have a look at this special issue. It's really very, very exciting. And in addition to this special issues, there is a regular special issue where a subset of the outstanding papers of MICCAI last year in Munich have been selected by Nasir, Alex, Sandy, and Andreas Meyer. And out of these outstanding papers, one will receive the Elsevier Prize, and it will be revealed during the awards session at the end of this meeting. And also this issue is open until the end of the year. So please have a look at it. And let me remind the members of the editorial board of media that we have a meeting at 1 p.m. in the Omicron room. It's not a microscopic room, it's a reasonable room. So let me now give the floor to Vero, the president of the MICCAI Society.
To put the microphones a bit higher. So it's really an honor and a pleasure on behalf of the MICCAI Society to also welcome you to MICCAI 2016 in Athens. I would like to welcome all the people who have come back to see each other again, to interact and and really enjoy the science and make friends again or meet friends again. But also a special welcome for the first-time visitors to the MICCAI. I really hope you will very much enjoy your first experience here, interact and meet new colleagues and friends to work with in the future. I think the MICCAI conference is really a wonderful conference, a wonderful community. I think it's really one of the communities that brings together different fields. We have the real science, technology, and the biomedical expertise. And I think this conference really does make an impact in society. And it's very much needed. We're all from different parts of the world, but I think we share in many countries that the healthcare system is under stress. And it's really technological advances that may bring real advances and improve the quality of life and improve the sustainability of the healthcare system. And I really think all the work you're doing here is really making an impact in that direction. I'm really proud of the things we do in that respect. Before I officially open, I also would like to express a word of thanks to many people. First, of course, the authors who are sending their great work here. It's always a pleasure to go through the review procedure, and we know we turn down many very good papers, and what is here is really excellent science and really great to learn from. There's the excellent work of the reviewers who spend a lot of time, and we are very grateful to them. Then, of course, the sponsors that were already mentioned, and then the many subcommittees. And like Seb, I really would like to single out the MICCAI Student Board. It's quite amazing with what kind of an events they're organizing, and they do that next to being very busy, of course, in their research work. So we're really thankful to them. Also, as Sebastian said, we're very much happy with the women in MICCAI, which we fully endorse as the MICCAI Society Board, and we really seek to ways to make the presence of women, but also other groups in the MICCAI Society representative. So any suggestions in that direction that can help us are very much welcome, and you can talk to me or other people of the MICCAI Society Board if you have things that you feel can improve the society. But most of all, today I would like to thank this year's organization. When we trusted this year's organization to do the MICCAI in Istanbul, we very much look forward to it. We very much look forward to it because it's a very qualified and very good team. And also we loved to go to Istanbul because it's a very beautiful and great city. And we were really happy with the local involvement of people there. I know for some people it had been quite a disappointment that they had to move the meeting because it's so great to host the MICCAI in a city. But I'm very pleased that we found a new home here in Athens, named after the goddess Athena, who is the goddess of knowledge and wisdom. So I think in that way it's appropriate that you're all here. But I think it's great that this organization committee, with the same passion and dedication, having to relocate this conference, is here. And I think you could see from the welcoming words of Sebastian Orselin and the whole team here how much effort, dedication, and passion they put into it. And that will become a very great meeting thanks to them. So I already would like to start with a big applause for the local organization. And then I just want to tell everyone to enjoy, inspire, and be inspired. And I think we just should get started. And I would welcome the first chairs of the first session to start the session, Anne Martel and Mauricio Reis. I really wish you all a very great conference. Thank you.
Welcome everyone to the first oral session of MICCAI. This session will be on clinical applications of imaging. I guess this is one of Sandy's clusters here. My name is Anne Martel. I'm from the University of Toronto in Canada, and my co-chair is Mauricio. Oh, sorry. Is this on? Oh. Sorry. Okay, sorry, I'll start again. So welcome to the first session of MICCAI. This is on clinical applications of imaging. My name is Anne Martel. I'm from the University of Toronto in Canada, and my co-chair is Mauricio Reis from the University of Bern in Switzerland. And he'll start by introducing the first speakers.
Thank you very much.
toggles. So welcome for the first session. The first talk is Clinical Imaging Biomarker Discovery for Lung Cancer Survival Prediction by Yawen Yao, presented by the senior author Yung-Soo Huang from University of Texas.
Okay, very glad to have the first talk. Talk is about the image biomarker discovery for the lung cancer survivor prediction. For lung cancer, we know that the 5-year survival rate is very, very low, just about 17%. And right now, survival prediction is a very, very important topic for the cancer research. Basically, right now we know that it is a big data age, so we collect a lot of data from the cancer patient. But the problem is how to predict. How to predict the survivor. Sorry. How to back? So we can collect the pathology image from each patient. We also can collect molecular profiling data from each patient. The problem is how to discover biomarker to predict survival. And so we know that for pathology image, we have a high resolution. It's very, very big. Of course, bad thing is how to processing the whole slice image and quickly get useful information. And also for the pathology image, stand-up method just to use the whole image, detect cell segmentation, find the feature, and do the classification. And it is readily method to consider the cell subtype, cancer subtype, to do the survival prediction. But from the medical doctor view, we need to consider this cell subtype and cancer subtype to discover different image biomarker to predict survival or clinical outcome. Here is an example how to do for this image and this A image and B image. Actually, if you are a medical expert, you will know that this image has better survival, and this image has worse part. But how computer know that? So here is the pipeline for our method. First, the patient coming. For example, in the lung cancer, there's two big different subtype cancer. We call the ADC and the LCC. And we have the whole slice pathology image. So we want to quickly localize the different cell subtypes, for example, stroma cell, tumor cell, and lymphocyte. Then we can find out the different cell subtype and the image feature based on different subtype cell. Then we discover useful feature, or sometimes we call the image biomarker, then to predict the survivor, and find which one is better to exactly we can predict the good survival performance. So until right now, in our work, so we develop a partially shared deep learning network for accurate cell subtype detection. Then we develop a set quantitative feature to describe the pathology image and for the subtype cell information. Then we try to discover useful image biomarker to build survival prediction for the different cancer subtype. For example, ADC and SCC. So first, the first problem is how to detect subtype cell in whole slice image. We know that whole slice pathology image have a resolution 1 million by 1 million. That means that one file, we have 3 terabytes. So even load the whole image into the memory, the memory in a regular desktop computer is really, really hard. How can we do that? So here is to do the subtype cell detection. We developed 2 networks. One network is for the lung cell detection. And the second network is to do the subtype classification. The problem is we know that for machine learning method, deep learning method, we need a lot of training data. How can we get training data? We are computer scientists or we are biomedical computing scientists. These data have to be labeled by the medical doctor. Unfortunately, it's really, really hard for medical doctor to have us label a lot of training data. Now, so we designed 2 networks to share one part network to save some requirement for the label data. So here is the whole framework. So this part is to do the lung cell, and this part is just classify subtype cell. So finally, we can detect lung cell, and classify subtype at the same time. So for the detail, we can go to the, welcome to go to poster 343. So here is some visual results for the yellow color is tumor cell, and the red color for lymph cell, and the green color is stroma cell. So these 3 made different subtypes. So here is the detection result. We compare with 2 standard-of-art methods. One is based on, one is a deep learning method, one is a non-deep learning standard-of-art method. So our methods get better accuracy with significantly less time. So, but how to do that? For the whole slice image. Here is the whole slice image for 65,000 by 149,000. Actually, it's a very small whole slice image, but it's still really, really big. We know that normally we do cell detection segmentation, very, very small image with resolution 400 by 400. But how can we do it in this big image? Actually, we developed, regular deep learning method didn't work here because it is very, very long to process the whole image. So we developed an accelerated deep learning method to process the whole slice image. For example, how to load the image, how to process the image. We have developed both the algorithm improvement and the system improvement to handle this issue. So here is the cell detection result. Actually, from this resolution, it is hard to see how accurate for this method. But finally, we take this whole slide image. Right now, with our method, we take 155 seconds, including both input, output, and the processing time. So basically, a lot of time taken on how to load data from hard disk to memory, from CPU memory to GPU memory, and how to process that. So totally, the acceleration rate is 10,000 times. So you want to know the detail part, welcome to the poster, PS347. So now, after we detect the cell, we have to know how to extract image feature. This part is very standard. So we just use the cell profiler function to extract all possible features, includes 3 groups: geometry feature, holistic statistical feature, and the texture feature. So after we extract all these features, but different from standard-of-art work, we based on cell subtype, we extract this feature. Traditional method only based on cell detection or cell segmentation to do that. Long respect with the cell subtype. So now, with all this, we want to do survival prediction and at the same time discover useful image biomarker. And based on this part, we use 3 standard-of-art methods. One is the L1 Nahlawi method to find the useful feature or useful biomarker. And second part is the close boosting. And the third part, random forest, very standard bar method for the survival prediction. So the data set, we use the NH data set and TCGA data set. We know that these two public data sets for the lung cancer. And one is 144 ADC and 113 SCC. Actually, it's the second different part for our method to compare with other standard methods. Here, because we were told by the medical doctor, say, when you discard image biomarker, you have to treat different cancer subtypes independent. So based on this rule, so we follow that, we treat ADC and SCC independent. Here, survival rate, we can find that this part is our method and this part is different. We didn't consider the SARS subtype and the cancer subtype. So first, we do the ADC, the first subtype. After consider the cell subtype, we can find that here, the p-value is just 0.4%, and this part is 7%. Actually, this method, a very standard of our method in lung cancer survival prediction, is very pioneer work in the lung cancer field. And we also, here is for the result SCC, the second cancer subtype. Also, after consider the cell subtype, we found that we can get a much better result. And we also compare with pathology image with other molecular profiling data. For example, here we compare different survival prediction model to see whether a feature depends on prediction method or not. Actually, here is for the co-boosting and the random forest. We found that in both cases, still, after consider cell subtype, we can get a much better result. Finally, we compare with pathology image with other molecular profiling data. So we can find that here is pathology image. This four different molecular profiling data. Actually, the first time in the literature, we found that pathology image get better prediction result for survivor. So here, in our work, we have discussed how to describe the tumor morphology and provide more accurate prediction. So it's the first time in literature to prove from pathology image, we can discover useful image biomarker to better predict survivor. And we have do experiment on the two public data sets, TCG and NH, to validate method. So in the future, we will develop how to integrate pathology image with other molecular profiling data together to do better clinical outcome prediction. Also, we need to develop novel multi-view survival prediction model and see how can we get better result. So finally, we want to welcome everybody to see poster in the section 3 tomorrow for this in the section cell image analysis. So about the 3 poster. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We open the podium for questions. Okay, so let me start. So it seems that doing the subtyping, it boosts the final survival prediction. Could you comment on the level of accuracy of this subtyping or this detection that's required to have this boost?
Yeah, very good question. Actually, in the beginning, we started this project. We didn't consider cell subtype. So we do the result, and we found that the pathology image. So basically, in the standard of our literature, normally people do the survival prediction from the molecular profiling data. So now we consider pathology image. We found that if we didn't consider the cell subtype, we always cannot find better result compared with molecular profiling data. So we talked a collaborator at UT Southwestern Medical School. So the pathologist tell us, hey, from based on doctor, they have to consider the cell subtype and the cancer subtype. So this is very important for them. So they suggest us to consider the two information. After we can say that, we found that, yes, it is very useful. And more important, actually in another work, actually in last year MICCAI, we have another work in how to find the distribution between different cell subtypes. That's also very useful for the cancer subtype classification.
Thank you. One question, yes.
In a lot of different cancers, the ratio between the amount of the stroma area and the tumor area has been shown to be very prognostic of survival. So have you compared your method to a tissue classification method? Because I would say possibly why you're doing so well is what you're actually doing is there's different cell types within the cancer and the stroma region. So would you think you do as well using a tissue classification method rather than a cell classification method?
Thank you. So your question is how compare our method with the tissue classification method for the survival prediction? Yeah. Actually, very good question. Of course, because we know that survival prediction is a special kind of regression problem. So when we do it's a high long mapping between image feature or image description with survival time. So when we do the texture is one kind of information. But just I talked 1 second ago, except texture information, more important is how different cell subtype distribution. For example, if we know the lymphocyte cell around with the tumor cell, we know that maybe it's a better sign compared with we only know the tumor cell. So in this case, we need both texture information and distribution information and any other possible information. We know that sample very few. For example, even for TCGA, only 1,000 patients. So for 1,000 patients, 1,000 sample is very, very few for example, deep learning classification, almost impossible. So in this case, we have to try to get as more information as possible.
So we move on to the next one. For the sake of the time. So we thank the speaker again. The next presentation is Integrative Analysis of Cellular Morphometric Context Reveals Clinically Relevant Signatures in Lower-Grade Glioma, presented by Yu Han from the University of Nevada.
Good morning. My name is Han, and from Lawrenceburg National Lab, and it's my great honor to be here presenting this work in MICCAI on behalf of Dr. Ju Han, who cannot be here today. And if you like the work, please give the credit to Ju and other contributors. Otherwise, I'm the one who is responsible for the bad parts. So the topic of my presentation is the integrative analysis of cellular morphometric context reveals clinically relevant signatures in lower-grade glioma. How does it work? Which button? This one? No. Okay, fancy. So, as we know, tissue histology sections are rich in content and continue to be the gold standard for the assessment of tissue neoplasm. However, there are a large amount of technical variations and significant biological heterogeneity inside, which impose great challenges for unbiased quantification. On the other hand, many existing technologies involves feature transformation in hyperspaces, which sometimes make it hard to interpret the derived outcome. So to address those challenges, we have been struggling and developing methodologies that falls into the unsupervised and supervised learning categories, targeting different skills. And one branch of the work suggests that cellular-based quantification and representation of tissue sections helps construct the predictive models of clinical outcomes. And more interestingly, if we put those information in context, it leads to robust and effective representations which has demonstrated power in the delineation of subregions in the tumor sections. And inspired by those findings, we decide to move one step forward to evaluate the potential and the power of cellular morphometrics for integrative analysis. So here is a pipeline of work, and I'm not going to dive into the details of it. Having a large cohort of tissue sections, the first step is to pull out the nuclear regions. There are many fantastic techniques, and the one we're using right now is a multi-reference wildcard technology that is developing in-house. The nuclear segmentation enables the extraction of features in multiple categories, for example, the intensity features, the geometric features, and the texture features. All those features will be utilized as a whole together for the construction of cellular morphometric types as well as the cellular morphometric contacts. Okay, so we've been talking about those concepts. So what is morphometric contacts? So in our case, the cellular morphometric contacts encodes the frequency of co-occurrence of different cellular morphometric types. And those cellular morphometric types can be easily constructed using dictionary construction methodologies. Here we just use a k-mean for its simplicity and robustness. And our analysis has four components, basically. The morphometric subtyping, the survival analysis, the enrichment analysis, and the genomic association analysis. Our experiment targeted at the TCGA-LLGG cohort, and it has 215 host cell images from 209 patients at the point of evaluation, among which 203 patients are with the clinical annotation. During the experiment, we constructed 64 cellular morphometric types from 2 million segmented nuclear regions, which was randomly selected from roughly 80 million segmented regions, which leads to the construction of 64 being histogram as our representation per patient. So having all the representations, the first question we're trying to answer is that how's the link between the individual morphometric type to clinical outcomes and molecular data? Specifically, we would like to evaluate the significance of each cellular morphometric type related to survival. We would like to identify genes that best correlate with each cellular morphometric type. And we would also like to identify, enrich the gene sets that might be helpful for hypothesis generation, which will be the next step. Okay, the survival analysis helped identify 8 clinical relevant cellular morphometric types. And 4 of them are with unfavorable prognosis, and the other 4 with favorable prognosis. As we mentioned earlier, we are trying to make the effort, to have the derived outcome visually adjustable or can be justified. So here is a visualization of some of the samples falls into different categories or cellular morphometric types. As we can see that the visualization indicates that among different cellular morphometric types with unfavorable prognosis, there is a common feature. I would say it's a loss of chromatin content. This feature might be related to the fragmental dimension of the chromatin, which according to literature is an unfavorable factor for survival, which to some extent confirms our findings. And this table gives some more details of our analysis, where the hazard ratio refers to the hazard to death, the p-value indicates the significance of each individual cellular morphometric type relates to the hazard, and the q-value just FDR corrected the p-value. Furthermore, the frequency of occurrence of each cellular morphometric type per patient is correlated with the gene expression values among patients. And the top-ranked genes with both positive and negative correlations are further analysis with the enrichment analysis. And according to literature, the iPhone activates a transcription of genes that shows the potential in the treatment of brain tumors. And the identification of iPhone as a positive factor in survival confirms our findings, or confirms the prognostic effects of some of the subtypes. For example, the subtype 28 29, and 52. So now, after examining each individual cellular types, we would like to look at them as a whole part in context. And our subtyping analysis shows that there are probably 5 subtypes for the cellular morphometric context, and we ignore the first 2 because due to the lack of patients. And our survival analysis performed on the remaining 3 subtypes indicates that the patients in subtype 5 have significant longer survival time compared to patients falling into subtype 3 and 4. Further analysis indicates that the differential expressed genes between subtype 5 and subtype 3 and 4 are enriched with, for example, the genes that mediate the programmed cell death. This might provide an interesting insight and explanation why the survival time could be different. And in summary, we have further validated the robustness and effectiveness of the cellular morphometric context. And we have constructed an integrative analysis pipeline for the association of cellular morphometric context with clinical outcomes and molecular data. And the integrative analysis performed on TZG-LGD cohort based on our pipeline reveals clinically relevant cellular morphotypes as well as cellular morphotype subtypes and its corresponding enriched gene sets. And the next step is to validate our findings on independent data set, which we've been working with Stanford University for this approach. At last, I would like to thank all my colleagues, my collaborators, the funding agency for their support, and I would also like to thank you all for your attention, and I'm glad to take your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Okay, so what about the inclusion of other clinical information, such as age of the patient or Karnofsky scores?
Yes, that's a good question. So the age has already factored in the survival analysis model, which is a Cox-PH model, so it's part of that.
Okay, I'd like to thank the speaker again.
Can I have one more? I would like to advise that I got a cold last night, but you are still encouraged to stop by my poster for further discussion. Thank you very much.
So the next paper is on handheld sound speed mammography based on ultrasound reflector tracking, and it will be presented by Sergio Sanabria from ETH in Zurich. And while the speaker gets ready, just a reminder that if you have any questions to ask, there are some microphones down both aisles. If you'd like to come to the microphone at the end of the paper to ask questions.
I'm just going to make a comment for every single speaker. The big green button with an arrow, that's to go to the next. The red one, that's to go to the previous one.
Thank you very much. So we are now in October, and October is the month for breast cancer awareness. And the information that you will hear many times this month is that 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with cancer in their lifetime. So which tools do we have at hand to deal with this diagnosis? There is biopsy, which is the gold standard, but it's an invasive method. We have as well X-ray mammography, which is currently used for routine screening. However, it requires radiation to the patient, and it advises against frequent utilization. And we have as well ultrasound. Ultrasound, we have conventional ultrasound, B-mode, which is a not invasive method. However, so far it has shown low specificity to distinguish between a benign and malignant tumor. Our proposal is a handheld sound speed imaging method. It is based on ultrasound tomography, so we are going to develop a map of acoustic properties of the tissue. Among them, we are going to image the speed of sound in every pixel of our tissue, which is a quantitative biomarker which shows high specificity. This system that we propose is implementable in conventional ultrasound systems, and it just requires a small hardware addition, which is a passive reflector used as a timing reference. It is as well very flexible to access small breasts and near the chest wall, and it minimizes patient discomfort since it does not require breast compression. So how does this work? In a conventional ultrasound image, we have tissue, and we are sending waves which are reflected as scattering particles within the tissue. If our inclusion, our lesion shows the same contrast, the same number of scatterings as the background, we will not be able to see it in the image. What we propose instead is to use a reflector as a reference timing element and send waves by individual transducer elements and measure the time they take to arrive along different trajectories. By measuring multiple trajectories, we will be able to generate an image. Specifically, let's think on this setup where we are sending 3 different trajectories on a line. First, what we do is we record the raw ultrasound data. This ultrasound data will show us different waves that have been propagated through this tissue, and we will be able to identify the feature of waves being reflected at this reflector element. We can afterwards have to determine the time of arrival of these waves, which will give us the information we need for reconstructing our imaging. We can do this in different ways. One way would be just to take every signal and compute a peak or a correlation value to get the time. However, this will give us strong ambiguities. This is an oscillatory signal which will show multiple peaks, and it will be difficult to determine which is the right one. So what we have introduced is a dynamic programming approach. This is a global optimization method in which we build a cost matrix and a memory matrix gradually, which allows us in one step to decide on which is the optimum tracking on the full reflector as a whole. Once we have this time information, we subtract the known reflector geometry, and we can determine out of this fit some parameters such as the reflector distance, the reflector inclination, the background speed of sound, and what remains will be the residuals of the fitting. And these residuals will be everything that is not accounted by the geometry of the reflector and the homogeneous tissue model, that is, the inclusions or the lesions that we want to image. So this will be the input to our reconstruction. Our reconstruction is a limited angle ultrasound tomography problem. We don't have all possible trajectories that we would need to make a full angle reconstruction. For instance, we don't have, if you see in the image, we don't have trajectories parallel to the tissue. We just have trajectories which are almost vertical with respect to the tissue. So we have limited information, and this will lead to some image distortion. How we can address this problem? We address it as an optimization problem in which we have a solution term in which we introduce the delay perturbations that we have just measured, and as well a matrix L, which is constructed by the discrete geometry that each ray is traveling. To this term, we have a regularization term in which we can introduce spatial regularizations to provide some smoothness or some assumptions in the image that the lesions look physically realistic. It is very critical, if we see the in silico example below, which regularization norm do we use? If we use conventional N2 norm, which is least squares, basically, due to the very limited information that we have present at hand, we will get a very coarse resolution. We will get elongated inclusions along the vertical direction, and we will get a lot of artifacts. This is similar performance that you will achieve with other methods such as filter back projection, for instance, which are very usual in computed tomography. However, if we use the N1 norm, which is as well called total variation, and is an edge-preserving regularization, we will be able to reconstruct as well sharp transitions in our image. And already it will look much better, so we will be able to distinguish that there are several inclusions present. However, the image quality is still not good enough, and we need to go further. We introduce an anisotropically weighted total variation concept. Here we are basically exploiting the fact that we have different amounts of information depending on which gradient direction we are considering. So if we consider, for instance, the horizontal direction, we will have a lot of information since we have a lot of rays that allow us to establish transitions in the horizontal direction. However, if we consider the vertical direction, we have very few rays which have some information related to the vertical direction. So we have to account for this fact. And we do this in the following way. We divide our gradient, our regularization term in two terms for horizontal and vertical gradients, and we weight them differently. So we weight more the gradients which have more information, and we weight less the gradients which have less information. This is the basic concept, and by building from there, we can get images of this quality, in which the inclusions are already very well resolved, the geometrical distortion is minimal, and actually we check the color scales, As well, we can use it for quantitative prediction, since the values are already coming close to what they should be. So I would like now to move to real experimental results and show you where we are. So we have been using for these experiments a 5 MHz probe, and we have implemented our system in an ultrasound research system, which actually looks like a conventional ultrasound system. First, we started with the gelatin phantoms, where we were introducing stiff inclusions with the same echogeneity. So these inclusions, as you see, they are invisible in the B-mode image, as I was illustrating before. But however, in our speed of sound image, they appear very clearly reconstructed. Actually, with the latest developments that I have shown, it is possible to reconstruct their geometry very accurately and as well the shape. So actually, we were observing that with 150% gelatin increase in the stiff inclusions, we were getting a 0.6% speed of sound increase. Since these results were looking good, we were moving to a more complex phantom. This is a breast phantom, which simulates the different structures that you would find in a real breast. You have the skin layers, you have the glandular tissue, and you have some stiff inclusions, which shows an artificial microcalcifications inside, and cystic inclusions. We were observing that the cysts show a low contrast, so 0.9% speed of sound, and the stiff lesions show a 2.8% contrast. If we reconstruct this image with our method, we get something like this. So the stiff inclusion appears very clearly in the image, very sharply delineated. You can see that the geometry, what you can see in the B-mode a little bit, is matching. The cystic inclusion, it has much less contrast and it does not appear so clearly delineated. But still, if we would have a cancer, for instance, a marine tumor, which would be a stiff inclusion, we would be able to detect it. We were moving forward, and since we were happy with the phantoms, we were moving to ex vivo tissue. Here, what we were doing, we were taking some bovine liver, and we were simulating lesions by ablation. So we were cooking the liver, basically, and introducing inclusions in our system. As you can see in the B mode, the inclusion is not clearly visible. However, you see behind a shadow, which is the effect of attenuation that the inclusion introduces. Note as well that the reflector profile below is not totally flat, but is curved a little bit, and this bump is due to the fact that we have our sound speed variation with our inclusion. And if we reconstruct this image, we get something like this. So the inclusion position appears very clearly delineated. We as well are able to reconstruct the geometry very well. And we are able to provide a quantitative value for the speed of sound. So we were very excited about this, and we wanted to move forward. And we started 2 weeks ago our clinical test in the University Hospital of Zurich. And I mean, we are not still where we would like to be, but I would like to show you just what we got in our first 2 weeks of trials. So we were testing a first subject which had no lesions at all in the breast, and we got something like this. So you see some background noise, but you don't really see a structure. Next, we were getting a cystic patient. So it had a cystic lesion. It was showing a very, very low contrast. It was almost at the noise level. It was like 0.7% contrast. However, we are able to see something in the image. We are able to see that more or less where the inclusion should be, there is something visible. The geometry appears still quite distorted, but we are able to detect it. And third, we were getting a fibroadenoma. In this case, it was not even visible in the B-mode image that our machine was able to provide. However, we had another machine, as you see on the bottom corner, a more high-end ultrasound machine from GA. We were able to see a little bit with very low contrast this inclusion. So this gave us the certainty that something was there. And what we see is that actually there is something appearing in the image with a higher contrast, and it shows that potentially there is something that's been detected. Again, a very low contrast inclusion with a contrast of around 1%, but we can detect it. So what we have seen is that we can obtain a very sharp geometric delineation for inclusions which show a contrast which is about 2.5, 2.7%. The contrast is sufficient for being detected, and we get a very sharp delineation. We have seen this both in tissue phantoms and both in ex vivo tissue. Actually, what we know from previous literature is that if we have a carcinoma, a cancer, a very large speed of sound contrast is expected. So we should see a variation over 3%. So actually, these results are showing us the future potential that we will be able to detect and differentiate this kind of malignant tumors which show high contrast from benign tumors which show less contrast. And this is where we are working now. And the outlook is we are already starting with our clinical study. So we were able to detect some benign masses, which show actually a very, very low contrast, it's below 1%. Still, obviously there is things to be done. One important aspect is the signal-to-noise ratio. We are having a much smaller signal-to-noise ratio, much smaller signals in the in vivo case, and we want to address this issue. And we want to improve as well to the overall image quality to reach to the level where we are already with the ex vivo test. I must say that the level of heterogeneity, the level of background heterogeneity that we observed in the liver case, which was around 0.7%, is almost the same that we observe in the real breast tissue, which actually gives us the hope that actually the measurement is going well. Apart from breast cancer, another prospective applications that we have in mind include organs that we can assess two-sided with the reflector, such as the main genitalia, the prostate. As well, there could be surgery applications with catheters and other organs. So this is from my side, the presentation, and I'm now open for your questions.
Thank you very much.
Check. Hello. That was really a fascinating talk. So one thing I was wondering about, I'm a little bit involved in ultrasound and neurosurgery, where they put the probe into a craniotomy, and pretty often, or sometimes at least, we can see the skull on the other side. So what I'm wondering about is, would there be any possibility of using the skull as the reflector?
I think an important aspect of this method is that the perturbations that we are trying to measure are very small. So we are speaking about hundreds of nanoseconds perturbations. So it is very important that we can characterize our reflector geometry very accurately to have a baseline from where we can determine these perturbations. I think it's a topic which is challenging, but I think it's not totally out of the view. I think if one, for instance, would be able to assess this skull from different orientations, probably one could analyze the consistency of these different orientations and determine enough information to be able to use it. But we are still a way to go there.
One quick question.
Okay, let me first repeat Sandy's compliments. This is very interesting.
Thank you.
Your test involved finding hard lesions, and there are other ways with ultrasound to do that, such as elastography.
Exactly.
Can you briefly say what the advantages you're proposing are? Can you find lesions you can't find with elastography, or how would you compare?
What it is known for elastography is, well, there are several methods, and one of the popular ones is here wave elastography. And what you see in the current studies is that the differentiation level between benign and malignant lesions is very low. You see in both cases some increase in the acoustic parameters. In this case, they are measuring the speed of sound of the CR wave. But this variation does not give you enough information to measure this differentiation. What we are measuring here is a different mechanical biomarker. We are measuring the longitudinal wave speed of sound, which is a totally different wave. And what we believe that it is an additional imaging biomarker, and actually previous studies show that this could give a better differentiation.
But, you know, if you look at the phantoms studies and such in vivo studies as I've seen with elastography, it does seem to show hard lesions pretty well.
Hard lesions you saw, but fibroadenoma and carcinoma, both of them will probably show like a hard lesion.
Okay, well that is the answer.
And you will need some additional information to distinguish them.
Thank you. Again, it's a very interesting paper.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I'd like to thank the speaker again. So the next paper is on prostate cancer, improved tissue characterization by temporal modeling of radiofrequency ultrasound echo data. And this paper will be presented by Nahlawi from Queen's University in Canada.
Hi, good morning. So, good morning. I'll be talking to you about tissue characterization in prostate cancer using stochastic and temporal modeling. So, first of all, why prostate cancer? Mainly because it has the highest number of new estimated cases among all other types of cancer, with 24% in Canada. In addition, 1 in 8 men are expected to be diagnosed with prostate cancer in their lifetime. The diagnostic process starts with measuring the prostate-specific antigen in the blood serum, as well as digital rectal examination. If either is abnormal, a definitive diagnosis is done through histopathological analysis of specimen collected during prostate biopsies under transrectal ultrasound guidance. In some centers nowadays, they use MRI guidance as well as MRI and transfusion. But for the scope of this work, we're interested in guided biopsies. These procedures are considered blind to the pathology of patients. And as you can see from in the systematic way that specimens are collected, there's a very high chance that like a foci like this can be missed. And this is why our group has been working on a new imaging technique using ultrasound to transform these approaches into a more targeted approach where we can provide the physicians with maps of high-risk areas in order to target them during the procedure. So TIAS is the new modality, which is short for Temporal Enhanced Ultrasound, which is basically a sequence of ultrasound frame collected from a specific location over a short period of time. We're talking a couple of seconds without moving the probe or the tissue. Those TIAS signals have been shown to carry tissue-specific information, and in our lab, they have been studied in a spectral domain where features were extracted and used for tissue characterization. So, as I mentioned previously, most of the analyses were in frequency domain. Here in this work, we're proposing to model the temporal signature of TIAS in order to capture those repetitive patterns that characterize each type of tissue. And we're proposing to use a white box tissue characterization that enables us to create those high-risk maps that we can provide for clinicians during the procedure. For our modeling approach, we use hidden Markov models, which are stochastic processes that has a hidden component, which are the hidden states and observations that are our data. These observations are used to estimate the state transition probabilities, which govern how likely we are to move from one state to another, and to estimate the state emission probabilities, which tells us how likely we are to see an observation at a certain state. So how do we use HMMs on TIAS? We extract a malignant signal, TIAS signal, and a benign signal, and using the training part of our data, we create a benign model, a benign HMM, and a malignant HMM. And for each test ROI, we feed it back to our model, calculate the log likelihood, and according to which one is higher, we determine the label of the signal. Now, to validate our approach, we use in vivo TIAS data from 9 patients just before prostatectomy. And after surgery, the specimen are sent for whole mount histopathology. And we build our ground truth. So by looking at this figure here, you can see that the histopathology intersects with our imaging plane with a line, which is this one, and we use it to build our ground truth. So for each TIAS frame, we overlay a grid to divide it into regions of interest, and using the ground truth, we label our ROIs. In total, we have data from 9 patients for a total of 570 selected ROIs with 286 malignant and 284 benign. We propose a time domain representation for this TIAS data in order to be able to model it with HMM, where we first start by calculating the mean of the values in each ROI for each each time point. And then we calculate the first order difference because we're mainly interested in the patterns of change of those echo intensities. And then we put the signal in an HMM acceptable format. So we have a group of malignant ROI and a group of benign ROIs that we model separately. So starting by the mean echo intensity signal of an ROI, we calculate the first order difference, and the range of difference is then divided into 10 bins of subranges, and the ordinal number of the bin is used to represent the values falling in that subrange. Now, for tissue characterization to do tissue characterization using the HMMs, we adopt a leave one patient out cross-validation to divide the data into training and testing. Using the training data, we build a malignant HMM and a benign HMM. And for testing, we feed each testing ROI to our model, and we calculate the log probability, and according to which log probability is higher, we label the test ROI. So our models that we learned from the TS data of those 9 patients actually starts with a topology that is estimated from an initial model, and the emission probabilities are learned using the Baum-Welch algorithm. By inspecting the probabilities at the states in the malignant and benign models, we can see clearly that the HMM was capable of capturing a different signature for benign and malignant, starting with, or most prominent in state 3, then state 2, and state 4. Now, in terms of tissue characterization, our results show that we have an average accuracy of 88%, an average sensitivity of 89%, and an average specificity of 87%. Now we use the log likelihood, or using the log likelihood generated by the HMM, we calculate the ratio of those likelihood in order to create our color maps. These are 3 examples of our very accurate results where we match the ground truth very well. And this is an example of where we don't really match very well, which is basically a patient that we know had, to start with, we know had a problem in registration, but we kept it as a proof of concept to show that HMM can generalize enough even with this noise in the data. So in conclusion, we showed how we can model the TOS temporal signature, and we got an improved tissue characterization with 88% accuracy in our pilot study versus a previous study on the same data using SVM, which was 80%. And the HMM models captured or are readily interpretable models where the logic or the modeling logic is available for inspection. And in future, we are working into connecting those models with the physical mechanism governing the interactions of TS with tissue. So we're basically looking at building HMMs of simulated data that simulates the microstructure of the tissue, of the benign tissue and malignant tissue. And as you can see, as you know, the structure in benign tissue is like the scatters are more far apart, where it's more concise, and in malignant with more complex and heterogeneous microstructures. And so for more details about the simulation data, you can attend our talk tomorrow that will cover more details about the physics of the TS. And thank you.
This paper is open for questions. Is that one at the back?
Hello, can you hear me? Hi, thank you very much. That was a great paper and very interesting. I do a lot of prostate MRI, and we've learned a lot over the years about the background structure of the prostate. It gets divided into two parts, the center and the peripheral. Have you looked at your results in regard to location within the prostate? Because the background normal tissue is very different in these parts.
So this is a very interesting question. And you mean looking at basically the examples that you saw, this is not only like the distribution of the malignant loci. So we have loci that are distributed on over all the regions of the prostate. And we currently have a clinical study going on where we're looking at covering more of the like having a better distribution of malignant loci that we can model with our data.
Yeah, the other big background problem that we all face is this benign prostatic hyperplasia, which is so common in the middle, and it can be glandular, stromal, or even calcified. Yeah. So this will present a lot of dilemma, unfortunately, because of the heterogeneity. But thank you very much. It's really good work. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Hi, just a very quick question about the technicality of the HMM. So is the transition matrix of the HMM full, or you have some sort of diagonal structure?
No, it is full. It's a full ergodic model.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
And one quick question for me. You had to compress the range of your difference in times. Would that cause issues if you went from one site to another? Have you done multi-center evaluation of this technique yet?
Sorry, can you please repeat that?
Do you have to calibrate? So you truncated the range of your difference signal from 0 to 10, and that involves some sort of calibration. Would that be affected if you went to different centers, different hospitals with different equipment?
That's a good point. We can probably discuss this further offline. But I guess that this truncation that you're talking about is mainly specific to this data, and it needs a bit more generalization if we're gonna generalize it to multiple or like data coming from multiple centers.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Before we close, moving on to the coffee break and poster session 1,
yeah,
I think there's some notes.
Just wanted to make sure that people knew where the poster were, so they are the main lobby area at the back. You will have coffee pods around. I do appreciate that some people have been having some issues of getting access to coffee outside of the time of the coffee break. We just cannot afford to have permanent coffee for everyone, for 800 people, for the whole day. So if you need caffeine at any time outside of this coffee break, there is a very nice coffee shop right in front of the hotel. And if you want to pay a bit more, there is a coffee as well as a restaurant at the bar at the hotel. About the posters, if you have issues with your poster not sticking on the wall, do not worry. We just mention it to the decant team, and they will help you to have a stronger tape. Please do come back at 12 sharp for our great first keynote speaker, Professor Claire Tampani. Thank you.